everyone, and oh my lord, my lens is screwed. Gotchas. Is that a bit nicer? Well, what's good guys? Hope you're all having a wicked day. Welcome back to the videos. But we are doing some more work to the ute, and this one is a very exciting one because pretty much up until this entire point, we have not really been doing mods as such, apart from when we went to Ants Performance, but we've been trying to fix up this thing ready for its final thing, which is going to be making some good power and towing as well. Yesterday, I finally got the last delivery for everything that I need to make this car go fast, aside from a few little parts from Ants Performance, but don't worry, we'll be heading back over there very soon. I'm going to be putting a full exhaust on this thing, which is going to be so sick. But anyway guys, today we're going to be going through some of the parts and installing some parts ready for its new power goal. Now, the ute behind me is looking very pretty with some Koenig shocks, with some SSL King springs on the front, some white line blocks at the back. We've installed the Airbag Man suspension. Shady Business hooked it up with a bit of a tint. We've now painted the whole car. We've fixed up a few little issues, and the thing now has a stage 1 built transmission as well, which is absolutely sick. Not only that, but we topped it off with a Raceworks and Aeroflow trans cooler kit as well, which is still trying to work out a little few things today, which is what we got some parts for. And we have a full sound system installed by the guys down at Autobahn Pakenham. This thing has done the rounds now. It is such a mint ute. It looks so freaking cool. But today I'm gonna run you guys through some parts and what we have on the bench right here to get this thing ready for its new power goal. So I'll be completely honest, this car has entirely snowballed exactly like I thought it would. As soon as I heard about some of the issues that this thing has, once again, it's kind of one of those things where the moment you do something, the moment you do something else, that means you have to do this thing, which means you have to get it tuned eventually. And so for me, with the final goal of this car wanting to go towing, and I also wanted to get a little bit more power out of the car as well to try and sort of get back to where the original Falcon on the YouTube channel was. I thought it would be best just to get it all done in one massive hit, ready to go, so that way I can just drive out with the tune, ready for towing, ready to go straight away. So it may not come as a shock to you guys, but I am hoping to make 500 horsepower in this car. That's all I want out of the car. 600 was hectic, and it started destroying stuff, and it was like the limit of the tail shaft and the diff and the transmission, as you guys all knew. So we're not going to be going that hard on this car. We're going to be pushing 500 horsepower, and that is all I ever wanted. But I'm also going to make this car a little bit more drivable than the original car was. The original car had a Precision 6235, which was actually quite a little bit of a large turbo. I didn't find it anywhere near as responsive as what the old 3576 was, so it made the car a little bit difficult to drive. So for this setup, we're going to be going for the ultimate responsiveness, but also with a turbo that's going to allow us to go to 500 horsepower. Now you guys can see we have a box just over there, which we're going to open up in just a second, but before we get to that, let's run through some of the other parts that we need. First of all, we have a TI Automotive 460 in-tank fuel pump. This one right here is exactly what I had in the original Falcon making 440 until I stepped up to the 525. But this right here is a very, very simple upgrade. It will bolt directly into the factory location with a few little mods, but yes, Walbro TI Performance 460, this thing will be completely fine to make all the power that we need. No surge tank, no nothing, straight into the original factory location, and it will provide all the fuel that we need. Now, along with that fuel as well, although it's not necessary, George from ProFlow, which is the guy that's going to be tuning the car in the future, requested that I get a Turbo Smart fuel pressure reg. Now, the best thing about the Falcon is the fact that you can just get a complete drop-in fuel pressure reg option, which is this right here. This is the FPR Compact. Has a little tiny bit of branding on the very top, but as you guys can see, that's a tiny little fuel pressure regulator, and this is just going to bolt directly into the factory fuel pressure reg slot, and it's going to look pretty much OEM, which is so cool. Now, along with that, of course, we've got to go with some injectors. These right here are Bosch 1000cc injectors or 980cc injectors, and they also come with a set of Raceworks adapters as well to adapt directly to the original Falcon fuel rail, which is awesome. This is where stuff gets spicy. I didn't exactly need these, but you know, it's always a good option to have that, especially if I want to wind up some more power. ARP head studs, these are just the original 12 mils that will fit directly into the factory location. You can do these in the car, just swap them out one by one, which is exactly what we're going to be doing. The only reason I went with these is because I'm already going to be in there doing valve springs. So I thought we may as well chuck a set of ARP bolts in as well. Speaking of valve springs, we have a set of Crow cams. These ones here are the 1809s, which is the more heavy duty version of, I believe, the 1808s, but I also didn't get the retainers either. These are just the valve springs by themselves. Apparently these are good up until like the high 40s in PSI. I'm only gonna be running less than 20, so these will be completely fine for everything that I need. Now, all that stuff I just showed you was thank you to TJD Auto Parts. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for Tom at TJD. You can grab every single one of those things right there, ready to go, ready to bolt on, and hit him up for a quote, mention me, he'll probably give you some good pricing. Now, I'm gonna bring out the big dog. This right here. This is my new Pulsar 3582 Gen 2 turbocharger. I bought this one once again directly through TJD Auto Parts, and I also equipped it with a new IWG 75 from TurboSmart because apparently the Pulsar ones aren't exactly the best. And then I took it to work and we also did all the work to orientate this turbo to make it work for the FG as well, because all of these actually come for a BABF, but this is gonna keep this car nice and responsive, make it 500 horsepower capable, and it's going to sound sick with that beautiful big anti-surge on the front right there. We're gonna be doing a few little spicy things with the actual intake as well to make it dose nice and hard. Of course, no blow-off valves in the setup whatsoever, but this thing here looks so freaking cool. Dual ball bearing, thing is just beautiful. Now with that Pulsar turbo as well, I want to give a massive thank you to Mez from Barrel of the World as well, because these turbos actually come for a BABF turbo. Unfortunately, there's a few things you need to do to actually get them ready to go into an FG. I wasn't actually aware, but Mez actually hit me up and he's like, hey look, I have a bracket that's going to sit off to the side of the turbo that is actually going to orientate the wastegate in the proper direction as well, and you also are going to need an extra long clevis at the back of the IWG 75. So all of those there are through him, so I want to give Mez from Barrel of the World a massive, massive, massive thank you for helping me out in regards to creating that turbo right there, ready to just bolt straight into the FG. Now, here's where things get a little bit, yeah, terrible, unfortunately. So it comes as no surprise that unfortunately this thing, we've been having a few little transmission issues and it absolutely sucks. But this is the entire story of everything that's going on with the transmission in the car at the moment. So we picked up the car, obviously it's got a fair few Ks, and it had a little bit of a slipping transmission between a couple of gear shifts. No biggie, I need to go get an external transcooler either way, so I opted to go with the Aeroflow transcooler when all brand new Raceworks braided lines. Sweet, no worries, me and Terry ended up putting that through the car and it was absolutely mint for about 500 Ks, and then unfortunately, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but ever since I did the tail shaft in this car, the transmission has had a shutter or a torque converter shutter or something similar. That the biggest thing I can put it down to is it feels like a torque converter shutter. When I'm sitting on the highway, it's like jumping between like 250 RPM and just doing this the entire time when you're sitting at like 80 Ks an hour. And unfortunately, I've had nothing but issues with the entire transmission ever since we did the transcooler. So I opted to go and take it in for a full rebuild at R&S. And those guys have been absolutely great. They built the car, they put a stage 1 in it, and they also put a new torque converter or a Rico torque converter in it. And ever since then, the car has shifted absolutely flawlessly. However, the issue that I'm currently still having is it still has a torque converter shutter. Now, I've spoken to the guys at R&S and they said, all right, there's a few things it could be. First of all, have a good look over all the vacuum lines and stuff like that inside the car. So we've gone around, we've done all the vacuum leaks inside the car, which you guys would have seen in one of the previous videos. Now, after I finished all that, I went and got the car smoke tested as well. We also did a boost leak test and there is 0 leaks in this car at the moment, which I'm stoked about. The car ended up driving a lot nicer. However, it still has torque converter shutter. So I went back to the guys in R&S and I said, hey, look, what do you want me to do from here? And they said, go get the car tuned. That is why all of this stuff is getting fast tracked, ready to get this car ready for just a full tune, 500 horsepower, slap it straight in, trans tune, everything else as well with George from ProFlow. Now, along with that, I also am going to be making a full video as to this little tiny gadget right here. You guys all know I'm a massive fan of the can-checked can gauges. Now, I didn't actually know this when I originally picked one up, but these are actually OBD2 capable. Not only are they just like the best gauges known to man when it comes to like Link systems or Haltech systems or stuff like that, but they'll just go like directly in to the OBD system of the Falcon or a lot of other different cars. So PT Motorsports ended up sending me out a can-checked MFD 15 so I could try log some temperatures with the transmission. Not only that, I found a few other little things about the car that I want to fix up, but the main thing is that the transmission temperature on the MFD 15, this has been a huge tool, by the way. The trans temp that I've managed to find on this thing is it only has torque converter shutter when it's on its warm up. So I can pretty much drive to work, which is about an hour away from where I live. I can drive about 40 minutes before this transmission actually gets up to temperature. Because we're not going with the heat exchanger anymore, we've completely bypassed the original factory heat exchanger. We've gone straight to completely separate system. Now taking a very long time for the car to actually get to temperature, the transmission to get to temperature. Now, not only that, there was a couple of hot days where I was driving back home and I actually found out that the fan switch on the transcooler is also buggered. I've ended up finding out directly that the fan switch is just non-existent. It never worked. It was dead on arrival. The fans have never switched on. And the transmission got up to 100 degrees a few times, which is completely fine. It's 110, you kind of want to start worrying, but the fan switch is set to 79 and the transmission was getting to 100 and it wasn't turning on. So that's another thing we have to fix up in today's video. I'm gonna make a full install video about the MFD in the future, but for now we're gonna put this thing aside back in the car, but check out CanChecked because yeah, they're the best. So to combat the issues with the transmission not getting up to temperature, I hit up a company called VCM Performance here in Melbourne. They're one of the main distributors of these guys right here, Improved Racing. Now these guys here have a tiny little amazing billet block, which is just so cool. This right here is a thermostat, specifically an oil cooler thermostat. Now you can use these for pretty much any fluid inside the car. However, its main job is to do either transmission fluid or engine oil. So this right here is a massive thermostat block, which is going to allow our transmission to heat up to temperature a lot quicker than what a standard transmission would if you're running it on a completely separate like trans cooler setup. Because I live in Melbourne where pretty much half the year it's below 10 degrees Celsius, this is gonna be a massive help, and especially try to combat those heating up issues if I do have torque converter shutter, and it is due to the fact that it's not getting up to temp quick enough. Now that's not to say that this is going to be a fix for the car, because if it still has torque converter shutter whilst it's warming up after the tune, then it probably leads to the torque converter still being an issue inside this car. But this is going to allow me to get the trends up to temp a lot quicker, which either way is going to be a really massive benefit, especially in winter. So we're going to be installing this today, and a massive thank you to VCM Performance. I'm going to leave a link to them down below as well, where you can grab one of these. We're going to be installing this on the car today. And I also grabbed a new temperature switch as well. This right here is I believe a 92 degree switch, and it clicks off at about 85, whereas this thermostat fully opens at about 75 degrees and bypasses all of the trans fluid through the cooler. So this is going to allow it to get up to temp super quick. This is going to make it cool down. Now it's a much better quality one than what the original Aeroflow one was. And I have all of the Raceworks fittings to go along with it. So this is going to be my main protocol today. Let's chuck this on. And then in the next couple of videos, we'll start getting to all that juicy good stuff over there. I'm so sorry for all the talking. Let's check out the car. Let's go to work. All right, so I've got everything sorted. So this right here is all my fittings that are going to be going directly to the thermostat. And then this right here is going to be my new fan switch. So this is just a Raceworks -8 to -8 adapter with a 1/8 MPT. And then it's got a new 200 degree Fahrenheit adapter, which I'm pretty sure works out to be like 92 degrees or something similar, with another two -8 hose ends down the end. So that's going to be sort of going down near the cooler and directly in line with the feed. And down underneath the car, I found the perfect spot to actually run the thermostat itself. All those little things is where I'm gonna cut the lines. Now I gave Gene a very quick call, and he said that the feed for the cooler actually goes from the bottom line and runs up to the cooler and then returns via the top line. On the actual thermostat itself, you guys can actually see that here it says from cooler to source and then to cooler from source. So this right here is our bottom line. So it's going to be going from the source, which is either your engine or your transmission, to the cooler, and then return here. And then this has a thermostat right in the guts of it. So what this does is this always remains open until it gets to a certain degree. And then once it does get to that degree, which in this case is 165 degrees Fahrenheit, this will close entirely, forcing the fluid to go between those two lines right there. So when it's cold, that thermostat is completely open, and that allows it to bypass directly through there and straight back into the transmission. So I'm going to quickly cut all those lines right there, put all the fittings on, and then adapt that directly to the new thermostat. Yeah, I should. Oh no, more transmission fluid. Alright, so all the hose ends are on. That sucked underneath the car, I'll be completely honest. So now we're going to be mounting this up into the car. So I'll set you guys up and we'll quickly throw it in. Alright, so you guys can see all the lines that I have right here. So we have the bottom line, which is this one right here. Alright, so what we're gonna do, we'll mount up this right here, which is our block cooler. All right, we'll snug that one. Excellent. That right there is the thermostat now fully mounted to the car. So we have our feed line going directly to the source, or from source to the cooler. And then from the cooler, we have one coming back and back to the source. Now I'm just gonna figure out what I'm doing with all these lines. I'm gonna fix them, make them look a little bit prettier, and we'll go from there. That is now my new temperature sender for the fan. Everything else looks absolutely amazing. So, I'm gonna drop the car down and then top up the transmission, because I did take about maybe half a litre or so of oil out of it. So, take it out, drop the car down, put some fluid on the transmission, and we should be good to go. Rightio guys, it is test drive day. I need to move the car. Rightio, so Autobahn. I don't actually work for Autobahn. I'm just helping out on Boxing Day sales because they're busy as hell and I love the shop. Anyway, Boxing Day, hope you all had a great Christmas. I didn't film anything yesterday, but we're gonna go out and quickly test the Ute. Reversing sensors are literally non-existent. They don't do a thing. All right, so we're currently sitting, I've just turned around the corner and currently sitting at 34 degrees for trans temp. Now, the drive to Autobahn should give me enough time to get this thing to about 60-ish. It's about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minute drive. You'd think the trans would get up to temp about that time. I just felt the torque converter slipping, so that's always a fun time. There you go. Quick little torque converter shutter check for you guys. But yeah, so it'll pretty much do that all the way until about 70 or so degrees Celsius for trans temp. We're getting there. We're working the thing out slowly. Dose check. Alright, so it ended up getting up to around 52 degrees. So don't get me wrong, it actually came up to temp a lot quicker than I expected, but then also a little bit slower than I anticipated. So I was hoping that it would pretty much bypass all the fluid, but it turns out these transmissions don't actually get up to temp that quickly. They're pretty efficient in terms of cooling. So yes, that's gonna be a fun thing we're gonna have to work out. Ideally, the torque converter would just work while it's warming up either way. Like the thermostat's obviously gonna help get it up to temp quicker, and always having a transmission that's working at temp at its proper operating range is completely fine, but ideally it would just work the entire process. You shouldn't have an issue with a transmission that's getting up to temp just as much as you shouldn't have an issue with a transmission that's at temp. So yes, not ideal. Hopefully the tune will fix it, but at the same time, kind of just hoping that it worked in a stock form. We'll work it out, fellas. We'll work it out. 6K deep into a built transmission and still having issues. Alright, and that right there says 65, which is me driving at home. Now I have done a few other extra little tests and I can confirm that both the fan switch and the thermostat are working flawlessly. The thermostat, once it gets up to about 73 or so degrees, which is exactly on the money, it then starts to creep up really, really slowly, and once it gets to about 92 to 93 degrees, the fan then kicks on, brings it straight back down to about 86 degrees, which is exactly what I wanted. So at the moment, the transmission on this car is working flawlessly, and I think it's pretty safe to say that once we get a tune, if nothing's fixed, then we'll probably need to have a look at the torque converter again, unfortunately. Alright, now, you guys probably are aware that I haven't really uploaded the video in a little bit. It's Christmas time, so fortunately for me, I've been doing all the Christmassy stuff, and one of them has also been making sure that Sarah has a good present for Christmas. So I actually went out, and I'm a big PC gamer guy, so I ended up buying her a gaming PC too. So I quickly built this for her. It's nothing special, it's just like literally a very chill MSI 100Hz monitor with an old Ryzen 5 2070 Super that I had in my original case, and then I got her a massive big air cool, like really, really cool case. It's an ATX size, it's really, really sick, but this is pretty much my old computer and like with a new shell, and then got her all of this stuff as well, which is pretty cool. Waiting on a new keyboard and everything for her as well. But then of course, when you make Sarah a computer, you have to upgrade because she's pretty much took my whole computer. And so I actually ended up buying this. And it's very pretty. So this is the new workstation as it's loading up at the moment. I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. So inside here, I have a brand new Ryzen 9 9900X, and it's also paired with an NVIDIA 4070, which is so freaking cool. One thing I did make a mistake on, I don't know if you guys can see, but up the very back there is 4 sticks of RAM. Did I mean to buy 4 sticks of RAM? Definitely not at all. I accidentally ended up buying 2 boxes of 2 in 2 separate orders. I don't know why or how I managed to do it, but either way, I managed to do it somehow. It's got a Corsair H150 on it, which is pretty cool. CPU cooler, B650M motherboard, DDR5 RAM, and I got 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM, which is so sick, and a 60-50 watt power supply. All in a Leon Lee 207 case, which looks so nice. And it's a full like toolless case, so everything comes apart so nicely. Looks so rad. But yes, this thing is a proper editing beast. Very, very happy with it. And then also for Christmas, your boy got some more. Lego, as you guys can see. Massive child in that aspect. And I've also got this, which I think is the coolest freaking Lego known to man. It's the Team New Zealand Emirates sports sailing boat. I don't know exactly how you'd call it, but it's like a full sailing boat. I don't know. I just think it's so freaking sick. I love the colors of it, and it's 64 centimeters tall. Like this right here, the box is the size of one of the sails. So I don't know, it's gonna be absolutely sick to build. Either way guys, thank you very much for coming along for the ride this video. In the next video, we will definitely be installing probably either a turbo or we will be doing valve springs and head studs. Depends on what I want to attempt on the day. I kind of feel like the turbo would be a little bit easier than doing valve springs head studs. It's a big job, but we'll see how we go. Either way guys, thank you so much everyone for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you do like the videos, please jump on and give it a like and a comment. If not, that's all good, up to you. Anyway guys, have a good one. See you later. Peace.